Hi there. Today we're going to be getting into how I made a investigation web mechanic for the Gotham Edifice Experience. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and I'd ask you to subscribe so I can see that funny number go up, and let's get into it. So just like the last video, we started with a discussion of the mechanic and some concept art. So here you can see we wanted to make pieces of evidence with strings between them, just like you'd see on any stereotypical detective's board. This mechanic is supposed to be accessible from anywhere and is a sort of mind palace for Batman, where you, the player, will put pieces of evidence together and solve the bigger mystery. We went with a black area as we wanted it to be a space that's different from any space you'd be playing in during gameplay. And of course, this is subject to change. So let's get into day one. I made the mechanic where you'd be able to drop the item and it would take you to the headspace, and when you're near the headspace marker, it'll send you back to where you were. And that was it for day one. Day two is where things really popped off. I started programming a lot of the mechanics. I started by making a little video for the team to see different layouts of what we could go for with the detective area. Okay, so we had the design oriented like top to bottom in terms of like the leads to like the final result. So in survival, like when you're on the ground, like it's hard to like get up high and string things together. So I was thinking we could orient it this way. I think Ilaris was saying that we could also have it on the floor. I kind of like that idea, where like maybe we have like the big thing that we're trying to solve like in the center, and then we like string things together around it, and they all lead to the center. After I had actually put the example on the floor and asked the team, we went with the floor layout instead of the upright way. This decision was partly inspired by the scene from the Batman 2022, where Bruce puts out all the pieces of evidence he's got on the ground and connects them all to find the answer. I then made a placeholder entity for the nodes of evidence. We wanted to be able to move the nodes around so each player will have their own unique web of mystery for every playthrough. I made it so the evidence can't be placed inside blocks in case we do add anything more than the floor to the headspace. And that's about it for the evidence right now. Now comes my favorite part of the mechanic, stringing pieces together. So the way it works is that you'll hit two pieces of evidence and it will put a string between the two. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, sort of. What we had to do was take the position of the first piece of evidence and the second, find the middle point, and then place a string there. We then rotate the string entity and add to its length scalar to make it look like the nodes are strung together. I made an update to the position and rotation for the string in case you move pieces around. This is supposed to be dynamic after all, and that's about it for day two. Day 3, I started by making an animation for the nodes to make it easier to read the messages on them and to show the amount of connections they have. I then added a texture and model to the nodes. Finally, I added a dev tool item to change the attributes of the entities we're dealing with for the add-on. Longer time viewers know that I've been using sticks to edit things for entities, so finally we have something specifically for that. I made it so you can change the amount of connections and say whether or not it should spawn a new question or hypothesis. For this function, we'll need some sort of identifier to spawn the right thing. This will be expanded upon later in the video. And now we're on to day 4. Today I was feeling sort of defeated. These days are not consecutive, so this was a few days after day 3. In that time, we had a game dev meeting, and a lot of things were discussed and changed, so there were a lot of things that needed to be changed. Firstly, I made a concept art for the items you might find on a crime scene. There will be yellow cards from the police to give a starting point for the player, and anything the player finds on the scene will be marked by a red card next to that thing, and it will be added to your investigation web. We also thought up footsteps and scrape marks for examples of evidence. I then made a new model for the string to make it more clear which direction it was going and whether or not the connection was valid. So we ended up with a few different types of string. So red with an arrow through it means that it's a correct connection and it is powered. Red with an X and gray meant that it was powered, but it was the wrong connection. Yellow is for a special case where it's the correct connection to a question, but it needs to be powered. And green would be for those cases when there is a question that's connected to another question. Let's see what it's looking like right now.
Dude, they're awesome. I love when he's like talking about an invention he's doing, and he's like, yeah, this is the point where I stopped working on it and gave up for 6 months, but now I'm back.
Okay. Why is this not working? Actually.
See, that's what I was saying to my calculus homework this morning.
Okay, so I know that it's the Atlas position 2, right?
Sure.
And when I'm checking to see if it's a correct connection, one of those checks is number 2. But it's not saying it's a correct connection. I don't get it. As you can see from the video, I had it mostly working, but then I had realized there was nothing I could do to make it work with the way I had set it up. This is something that not many of you quite know about. It's the disappointment and time it takes to remake code from scratch. Part of the reason this video has taken so long was that I have had to remake this code 4 whole times. I've had to rethink the conditionals for stringing questions correctly 4 whole times. It felt like everything I tried was wrong, and maybe this wasn't something that could be done. Maybe I'm not the person to make this. Maybe I'm not cut out for this mechanic. No. I'm not going to scrap code again. I'm going to make sure that I get it right the first time. I'm not going to waste more of my time remaking code. So, I started by making a table for all of the conditions and their outcomes. This was something to help with the logic and make sure that everything was accounted for. Then, after a whole night of remaking all the conditionals twice, I finally got it working. Okay, don't mind the time that this is being recorded. Let's do submit so that they get updated. There we go, this is the title card text. They just need to be updated, that's all, to get the right things. So let's just string these up as usual. And then you can see we've got the exclamation point, and then the first question. We can carry the new node because we've made all the connections. We can go drop that down. And then hopefully, yep, it looks like it doesn't have power, so it does that. Yeah, and this is the 16th nodes. Look, extra lines. And we can move this around however we need. There's still a problem with the correct connection sort of thing. That is something that needs to be worked out. My spirits were super high because the nightmare of remaking this thing over and over again was finally over. Then Minecraft updated. So to anyone who doesn't know, Minecraft updates a lot, and certain betas and scripting features get swapped around, renamed, or generally changed. Luckily, the only thing that was really ruined was the blocks, like the grapple points, which still need to be fixed as of writing this video. So, luckily, all this stuff that I had made the night prior was perfectly safe. I was having a hard time making sure all the pieces of evidence had the right connections and info for them, so I centralized all of the connections and information to make it easier as a developer to make edits or find which nodes connect to what. Now I'll let me from the past explain the entire mechanic as it works in the game. Okay, so I think I've got it. For all the webbing, it should be ready to go, and this is how it all works. If you make a connection from a powered one to a non-powered one, but it's the wrong connection, it'll give you the X and say, no, this is not a right connection. If it's powered and it goes to the right one, it makes a through line. If it's not powered and it is the right or wrong, it'll just stay gray. So let's power that again. Then, if it's the right connection and it's unpowered and going to a question, then it'll turn yellow, so you know it's the right connection. If it's not the right connection, it'll stay gray. So then if we power that and power that, then you can see it's got an exclamation point. You can interact with it and do carry new node, and then you'll get the new question that comes off of it. You can drop that down and you get the green linkage from question to question, so these two are locked together. If you were to remove power to this again, then that connection turns yellow and this power does not go through. So there we go. And then, that's not the right connection anyways, but you get the gist. So if I break something all the way up here, everything beneath it all gets updated and all of the connections go bad. Or like this one right here, those connections go bad because this one is not powered. So finally, I think it's done. The eagle-eyed viewers may notice that this video is being released a while after past me had explained it all. That's because I've been making progress on the next video. This mechanic has taken so long because I've had to remake the mechanic multiple times. So to make sure that this video gets out to you guys, and for me not to have to make an even longer video, this video is only the first part of this mechanic as a whole. I'd love it if you stick around to the next video, and you can do that by subscribing. It helps me out by telling the algorithm that this is a good video, makes that funny number go up, and makes me happy. Now in the last video, we had a little phrase that everyone was integrating into their comments. So in this video, that phrase will be indomitable human spirit. Thank you for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!